Hey guys, hope you're well. Have yet another court report, this time on DOA versus Jay Wheeler in the temporary restraining order case. Hopefully on Ken Moxon's side, their hope is to convert it to an actual permanent restraining order. I hope you guys have been enjoying the reports. Don't really want to be too aggressive with making my own personal push for funds, but if you want to help out, because there's a lot of court cases in the month of July, I didn't want to mention it when I was covering Danny or Josiah, because obviously their funds take precedence, but DOA has taken the route of not asking people to fund his legal defense. So if you want to pay for a couple of crappy motels where I can stay stationed, I do have my Venmo, PayPal, and GoFundMe link if you're interested, but no pressure, and I won't be hollering about that too much. This is probably the last you'll hear of it. But let's talk about the meat of this case. This all stems initially from an incident, and everything is so very disconnected, so bear with me here. But this stems from an incident where Jay Wheeler, a pretty young man, looks like to be in his early 20s would be my guess. He said Scott started harassing him after he saw Jay Wheeler around the scene when Scott was accosted by a guy with this poodle. Now, I saw the video and this moment is also used in evidence as well to point that Scott has a history of violence and antagonism, that Scott was barking at this dog and essentially goading him and harassing and following this guy. Apparently Scott, screwing around with Jay, started harassing Jay because Jay didn't come to Scott's defense, and Jay's team is trying to use Scott's reaction to the dude with the dog as an example of a history of antagonism. Now, the video is less relevant than anything else, but a quick rundown of the video, having seen the full, 3 minutes, Scott's definitely screwing around with the guy. The guy started arguing with him first. He starts barking. The guy says the dog was in distress. The dog seemed very chill. If a human barks, it's not going to rattle you, because dogs can tell the difference between a dog bark and a human bark. And the dog, to the dog's credit and the owner's credit, the dog seemed very well behaved. Even if there's another dog barking at my dog just doesn't really react. He doesn't really care. So the dog did not seem stressed. And this dude, instead of simply proceeding to walk as Scott was in one place, he lingered and then ran towards Scott, stopped. Scott kept barking. He ran towards him again and pulled out some sort of peculiar baton. And I think other people knows what it might have been, but it was like a small little stick, and swatted it, mimed it as if he very close to Scott, but not exactly hitting Scott. Again, the dude just could have proceeded down the block, and Scott was not following him. This is such a convoluted case, guys. So again, bear with me if there are more pauses than usual, but that was kind of the instigator, the first little moment that served as a catalyst for this TRO, which is bizarre because the dude with the dog himself is not involved, nor is he requesting a TRO himself. So today, we had a temporary judge. It wasn't the usual judge, although the judge seemed very competent and somewhat skeptical of the whole Scientology scene, which is obviously a good thing. In this back and forth, essentially Scott requested, well, I'll give you the result at first. Scott requested a continuance because the poodle video he feels should be used as evidence. It wasn't used as evidence before. He also wants to prep his legal team, obviously, which he'll pay for. But he requested that he has this continuance so he could get legal representation and add all this new evidence. The judge granted him that continuance. And there wasn't, Moxon didn't try to protest the continuance terribly, although he did try to add new evidence. So there wasn't a lot of conversation, but of what there was in conversation is quite interesting. First, a whole docket of new evidence was introduced that Scott wasn't even aware of. He was able to read it, as I was able to read it, once he was given this docket the day of the case. The docket essentially are screenshots of every single super chat that 86 GOP has donated to Scott, as well as noting the comments of 86 GOP that he wants to burn down the Scientology building, and this is quite egregious, and he said he wanted to kill Moxon's wife. So all of that information was added in, of which Scott did not know about. Now, all of this is pretty dispellable at the end of the day. So just so I make sure, so the judge noted that he had proof of service, and Scott, DOA noted that he's probably going to do an anti-SLAPP case as well. And some of these cases have been defeated via anti-SLAPP, so it's probably, he'll probably be successful in this. So I'm going to try to quote people as best I can, as best I could write, word from word, because it's kind of interesting. Essentially, the judge said, anything else, Kendrick Moxon, here for yet again, I think the 4th time. So it's Moxon Malooza. Gotta love Moxon. He's got a lot of moxie. Moxon, he said one thing more. After DOA, this is Moxon, Kendrick Moxon speaking to the judge, he said one thing. After DOA was served with a TRO, he left town, implying that he was scared of this TRO, which he wasn't. He left town. He put up a video where 86 GOP threatened to kill my wife. 86 GOP, this is again Moxon speaking, 86 GOP is a co-actor, meaning that anything 86 GOP has said and done, because he's giving, as in the evidence, he's giving DOA all these super chats, that DOA is responsible and essentially endorses his content and his threats, and therefore those threats should be used in this case. And with 86 GOP making the threat is essentially the same thing as DOA making the threat. So the judge says, are you saying the respondent made the threats? Meaning the judge is asking, are you saying that DOA made the threats? Moxon replies, no, he just revealed them. Meaning, it was revealed and he is responsible for this great revelation. Of course, Scott was quick to counter, being Scott DOA, same person, noting that he immediately disavowed things and put up a statement saying this is not anything he agrees with. And Mox said, and so the judge wanted to clarify, so meaning this isn't DOA, and Moxon said, no, this is DOA's associate who has been paying him. The judge tried to get the conversation on track, saying, we're discussing if there's a threat to you, not who is involved in your situation, who else might be on the scene. This is about you. And the judge says, I can't stop you from filing your own restraining order. Meaning the judge saying, listen, dude, if you feel threatened against Scott, or maybe if you even feel threatened about 86 GOP, make your own restraining order, either about DOA or about 86 GOP. But Moxon does reply. He says, it's a result of me representing of me representing Jay Wheeler, Joey J. And then Scott quickly retorts, I called out these comments. I said, I don't have anything to do with that. And this is kind of funny. He said, I would even help, and he made that offer previously, quite a few months ago. DOA said, I would even help in Moxon's efforts to help him file a TRO against 86 GOP, of which Moxon very rapidly replies, I'm not going anywhere with this violent man, for his co-actor is threatening to kill me. The judge says, well, we're not going to go into all of that. This gets complicated, guys, right? So, yeah, so that's this is a much shorter court case because this was just merely a continuance, but that's the crux. There's something thematic here. There's something consistent here. I've been here for 3 days again. This is 3 days in a row, 1, 2, 3, where people have been using 86 GOP's comments even though he's funding the attorney fees, they are using 86 GOP's comments against the streamer and are saying because 86 GOP said these threats, they've done this 3 times now, then by association, Josiah, Danny, and now DOA have also made direct threats. What is the definition of direct? Well, Scientology would argue that 86 GOP and them accepting money from 86 GOP Super Chat is a direct threat. I would say that might be a bit of a stretch. So what happens now? Now, Scott DOA is aware of the evidence that is against him. He is going to try to lawyer up. I think he's funding that himself, which is good. And, you know, again, with the monetization push, my YouTube channel is not monetized, so it would help. And he's going to use the video of this poodle guy, which serves as the instigator, because it's very clear that the poodle guy was the one really trying to antagonize and go after DOA himself. So it's a bit of a wild scene. This will be a shorter video because I only have one thing to talk about. But yeah, that's the crux. It's a shorter video because it's the same shit time after time after time after time. And they realize they don't have a lot of actual material with what Danny has done, with what DOA has done, with what Josiah has done, so they have to bring in 86 GOP. Now, to shout conspiracy or not, I don't know if 86 GOP was just stupid or intentional, and that's for you guys to discuss in the comments. I'm not going to weigh in on that particularly. And some might think it's a little irrational, some might not think it's a little irrational, of the thought that 86 GOP intentionally did this from the beginning. Guys, I don't know. That's for you to figure out and for people who have been more invested. But I will say anything 86 GOP has said can and will be used against the streamers. So that's particularly interesting. So this is now delayed until July 26th. So I will be there July 26th, be there for Aja, and then Solomon is on July 19th. So I'll be there at least 3 more times. And also for the Valerie Haney case in the middle of July. God, there's so many to keep track of. As well as the Leah Remini case also in the middle of July. So there's case after case. So you'll be hearing a lot from my disgusting soulless ginger mug, but you just better accept it. Thank you guys, and thanks for watching. Appreciate it.